Okay, good morning class. Today in this particular course for the biology for engineers, we are going to start with the next module, that is the structure of brain and neurons. This is the next module whereby we are going to study different parts of the brain and the function of the brain. So far we have studied the cell and molecular biology, that is cell membrane, the structure, the intracellular compartments, various macromolecules, their information, introduction to central dogma and the information transfer. The physiology part. In the physiology we have studied various aspects of digestion, regulation of food intake and digestive secretions. We have also seen the structure and specifications of the macromolecules like carbohydrates, lipids, proteins and nucleic acids. Learning outcome from this particular topic will be the coordination, because for the coordination brain is responsible. So the structure of brain, the structure of neurons, their physiology, the nerve impulse and the excitability of the membranes. Apart from that, the brain is contained in the skull and weighs 1300 to 1400 grams. It is made up of about 1000 billion neurons, and each neuron is surrounded by about 10 glial cells, which is also called neuroglia. The human brain is the central organ of the human nervous system, and with the spinal cord makes up the central nervous system. The brain consists of cerebrum, the brainstem and the cerebellum. It controls most of the activities of the body, processing, integrating and coordinating the information that it receives from the sense organs and making decisions, and then the instructions are being sent to the rest of the body. The brain is contained in and protected by the skull bones of the head. Furthermore, neurons cannot multiply and many neurons are lost every day in life, but glial cells, they can multiply throughout the life. Brain is also covered by meninges like spinal cord, outer dura meter, middle arachnoid meter and inner pia meter. It can be said that the spinal cord is what that connects the brain to the outside world, because of which the brain can act. The spinal cord is like a relay station, but a very smart one. It not only routes messages to and from the brain, but it also has its own system of automatic processes which are called reflexes. The top of the spinal cord merges with the brain stem, where the basic process of the life are controlled, such as breathing and digestion. In the opposite direction, the spinal cord ends just below the ribs. Contrary to what we might expect, it doesn't extend all the way to the base of the spine. The spinal cord is functionally organized in 30 segments corresponding with the vertebra. Each segment is connected to a specific part of the body through the peripheral nervous system. Nerves branch out from the spine at each vertebra. Sensory nerves bring messages in. Motor nerves send the messages out to the muscles and the organs. Messages travel to and from the brain through every segment. Some sensory messages are immediately acted on by the spinal cord without any input from the brain, and withdrawal of heat and knee jerk are the two examples. Forebrain is the first part, which is divided into the following, that is the cerebrum and the cerebral cortex, left and the right hemispheres, where the left hemisphere for most of the people is the dominant hemisphere, which is responsible for the production of language, mathematical ability, problem solving, logics, and the right hemisphere thought to be responsible for the creativity and different abilities. The cerebrum is the largest part, and it is divided into the cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral cortex is an outer layer of the grey matter covering the core of the white matter. The cortex is split into neocortex and the much smaller allocortex. The neocortex is made up of 6 neuronal layers while the allocortex has 3 or 4. Each hemisphere is conventionally divided into 4 lobes, that is the frontal, temporal, parietal and occipital lobes. The frontal lobe is associated with executive functions like self-control, planning, reasoning, abstract thought, while the occipital lobe is dedicated to the vision. Within each lobe, cortical areas are associated with specific functions such as sensory, motor and association regions. Although the left and the right hemispheres are broadly similar in shape and function, some of the functions are associated with one side, such as language in the left and visual ability in the right. The hemispheres are connected by nerve tracts, the larger being the corpus callosum. The cerebrum is connected by the brainstem to the spinal cord. The brainstem consists of the midbrain, the pons and the medulla oblongata. Now here we can see the structure of forebrain, whereby we can observe different parts. This is the frontal lobe, that planning of movements, recent memory and some aspects of emotions for which frontal lobe is responsible. Then this is precentral gyrus or primary motor cortex. Then this is central sulcus. Then this is postcentral gyrus or primary somatosensory cortex. Then this is our parietal lobe, which is responsible for the body sensations. Then this is occipital lobe, which is responsible for the vision. And this particular lobe is the temporal lobe, which is responsible for the hearing, advanced visual processing. Now we can see if any of the part of the forebrain is damaged, then it is responsible for the loss of that particular function. For example, for memory, it is frontal lobe, then so on and so forth. For example, if vision is lost, that means occipital lobe is damaged. So for a particular sensation, for a particular function, a particular lobe is responsible, and if that lobe is damaged, that particular sensation will be lost. Now in this particular slide, we can see the function of the frontal lobe. We can see here the frontal lobe, it is responsible for the personality, behavior, emotions. Moreover, it is also responsible for the judgment, planning and problem solving. The Broca's area is responsible for the speech, that is speaking and writing. And the motor strip, it is responsible for the body movement. So overall, frontal lobe is responsible for the intelligence, concentration and self-awareness for a person. Then after this comes the parietal lobe. This parietal lobe is located behind the frontal lobe and somatosensory cortex, which we have already seen in the diagram, and it is responsible for the perception, spatial orientation and comprehension of language, function recognizing object by touch. So this is in the case of blind people, whereby they can recognize the object only by touching it. Then it links the visual and somatosensory information together. So it is acting as a communicating link between the visual and the somatosensory information and coordinate between them and will act accordingly. Then comes temporal lobes. They are located at each side of the brain. These temporal lobes, they are involved in receiving and processing auditory information, higher order visual information, complex aspects of memory and language. They have vernix area which is responsible for the comprehension of speech. So these all they are the function of temporal lobes. After these lobes we have occipital lobes. They are rearmost portion of the brain responsible for the visual processing area. They have corpus callosum. They are the fiber bundle in the brain that connects the two hemispheres together. This we have already seen in the previous slide, the function of the corpus callosum, and this corpus callosum it is present in the occipital lobes and they have the function, they keep the hemispheres together. Then we have thalamus. They are the filters sensory information. They controls the mood states and body movement associated with the emotive states. Then hypothalamus. They are the central control for the pituitary gland. They regulates autonomic, emotional, endocrine and somatic function. It has a direct involvement in stress and the mood states. The cerebellum is connected to the brainstem by pairs of tracts. Within the cerebrum is the ventricular system consisting of four interconnected ventricles in which cerebrospinal fluid is produced and circulated. Underneath the cerebral cortex are several important structures including thalamus, epithalamus, the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland and the subthalamus, the limbic structures including amygdala and hippocampus and the claustrum, the various nuclei of the basal ganglia, the basal forebrain structures and the three circumventricular organs. The cells of the brain include neurons and the supportive glial cells. There are more than 86 billion neurons in the brain and a more or less equal number of other cells. So brain activity is possible by the interconnections of these neurons and their release of neurotransmitters. Neurons connect to form neural pathways, neural circuits and elaborate network systems. This is called, and the whole process is called neurotransmission, which is only possible with the help of neurons. The next part is the cerebellum. It regulates equilibrium, muscle tone, postural control, fine movement and coordination of voluntary muscle movement. Then pons, which we have studied in the video, the relay station between cerebrum and the cerebellum. The study of the anatomy of brain is called neuroanatomy, while the study of its function is called neuroscience. That is the technical difference between the two. Numerous techniques are used to study the brain. Specimens from other animals which may be examined microscopically have traditionally provided much information. Medical imaging technologies such as functional neuroimaging and electroencephalography recordings are the important in studying the brain. The medical history of the people with brain injury has provided insight into the function of each part of the brain. So brain research has evolved over the time with philosophical, experimental and theoretical phases. An emerging phase may be to stimulate the brain activity. Okay, so moving on to next topic, that is neurons. Neurons, also known as nerve cells, send and receive signals from your brain. While neurons have a lot in common with other types of cells, they are structurally and functionally unique. Specialized projections called axons allow neurons to transmit electrical and chemical signals to other cells. Neurons can also receive these signals via root-like extensions, which are also called dendrites. So at birth, the human brain consists of an estimated 100 billion neurons. Unlike other cells, neurons do not reproduce or regenerate. They are not replaced once they die. So the creation of new nerve cells is also called neurogenesis. While this process is not well understood, it may occur in some parts of the brain after birth. And researchers gain insight into both neurons and neurogenesis, and many are also working to uncover links to neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And I'm sure that they will get success about it. As we said, neurons vary in size, shape, and structure depending on their role and location. However, nearly all the neurons have three essential parts, that is, a cell body, axon, and dendrites, and that we will discuss in the next class. To give an overview, cell body, which is also known as soma, the cell body is the neuron's core. The cell body carries genetic information, maintains neuron structure, and provides energy to drive activities. Like other cell bodies, a neuron soma contains a nucleus and specialized organelles. It is enclosed by a membrane which both protects and allows it to interact with its immediate surroundings. Axon is a long tail-like structure which joins the cell body at a specialized junction, which is also called axon hillock. Many axons are insulated with a fatty substance called myelin. Myelin helps the axons to conduct an electrical signal. Neurons generally have one main axon. Dendrites are the fibrous roots that branch out from the cell body. Like antenna, dendrites receive and process signals. Neurons can have more than one set of dendrites, which is also called dendritic trees. These are some of the references from where we have taken the material for this particular lecture, and also the YouTube animation of the video. Thank you, class. Thanks for the patience, and we'll discuss all the queries in the next class. Thank you so much.